Jason Byrne, thank you for joining me on the Mindful Podcast.
Oh, Dermot, I'm so sorry for taking it so long. I'm so glad I'm here now.
I'm so glad you're here.
Off tour. Here, now I can be calm. I wouldn't be able to, I don't think I could do this if I was in the middle of my tour. Because you'd be talking and I'd be wondering what city I'm going to next in Britain, what I have to say. Also as well, just real quickly, the same people come back to see me every year. And they want me to, I have to name check them all in the first half before I start. It's men. They're like, Jason.
Mary, Bernadette, Rita. That's all we've time for.
Yeah, I know. That's why I can't have a support act. Because if I have a support act, they'll all go, oh no, we need Jason to say hello to check us in. It's like little kind of, there's in Huddersfield there's a bus driver who drives the number 16. So he's always there in the front with his mate that works in Sainsbury's. And there was a guy who used to come each year, but he disappeared for a while because he had to go to university. And so his parents brought a full-size cardboard cutout of him in the chair. That's real. And now this year, he was back for the first time. No cardboard cutout. And they all went, yay. And people that have never been, they're always like, what is this? It's like a cult.
Isn't it really interesting though? I think they all think that they're your friend.
Yeah.
And you're their friend.
Yeah, well, I kind of am on the night.
Yeah.
But I'm still nice to them outside, though, it's not.
Do you know, like that connection, that ability for you to bring your audience on the same journey as you that we were just talking about, for them to be as relaxed and in flow as you are, is a beautiful gift because you can take them into places that normally they mightn't be comfortable in. And this takes us into grief because I saw what you did with your one-man show about your dad, Paddy.
Yeah.
And as well as just being a beautiful and funny bit of theatre and comedy, it was also an incredible opportunity for an audience to explore a space that can be uncomfortable. And grief is one of those places.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I suppose when my dad passed away, and because I do a lot of stories about him on stage, people said to me, would you not do a play about him? Like, because I always did his accent, his voice when I was talking about him.
When did you lose your dad?
2020. So it was I'm only smiling because it was just it was February, and then COVID lockdown was the March. So it was and then I had the usual all the L ones coming up to us where my mum lives, going, your dad Paddy wouldn't have liked being around now with the masks and you wouldn't be able to go to the pub or anything like that. He wouldn't have liked it at all. And I was going, yeah, I'm pretty sure it'd be fair to be alive.
Given the choice. He probably
here, dog, do you want to be dead now?
Bear it.
Or he would just sit and go, no, I'll be all right, I'll sit in the house, you're grand. Oh no, all these elements said you'd be better off dead. So my dad was a very social fella. He worked in Guinnesses. Everybody, it's the usual. People did actually all know him. He was a very funny man, very dry wit, and basically, people said, "Would your dad have minded you doing a play about him?" And I went, "No, that's why I did it, because he would be in the pub going, there's a play about me. Did you see that? About me? Jason did a play about me." But my dad is. Also, I was going, I can't have my dad just die there and finish, and I'm still trying to work on getting it bigger. It's because his way of life, and first of all, I'm also rose tinted glasses dad. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm making there. So I'm not making the actual Paddy Byrne who loved a drink. He drank all day. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, he never fell over, my dad though. He was one of those, you just never knew how much alcohol was on him.
Yeah.
He'd just be sitting talking to you normal. Never slurs, never fell over, nothing. And he wasn't a nasty drunk or anything. He just would be a bit moany, in the house. Bit of the usual shouting at your mom when we were kids kind of thing. But it was kind of odd because I don't know if there's anything in it. Where I lived in Ludford on the road, we had a lot of different generations of kids on the road, but we all had the same dads and mums. It was really odd. They all went to work and they all went to the pub, the dads.
Yeah.
When they finished work, came home, had their dinner and went back up to the pub. So we all had dads that were like drunks and drank and whatever. So none of us thought it was weird. So we just like, how's your dad? Oh, he's in the pub again. Anyway, do you want to get football? Yeah. So there was no,
we didn't
sit in it as kids. So I then, as usual, I can quote Jason Manford for this, another comic we love. Jason, he's brilliant. Jason said he went up to the house one day and his dad wasn't in the kitchen. He was out in the garden. He goes, "Where's Dad?" And he goes, "Oh, he's out in the garden playing with your kids." And Jason went, "What? Who?" "That's not my dad." And they're going, "Yeah." It goes, so they just, his dad just changed. He was a completely different man.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the men, when they get older and can become granddads, dad started to change. But he was always very funny, right? But he had this.
But isn't there, for a lot of people, particularly comics, their first source of comedy is their dad? Like the first impression I ever did was of my dad eating chocolate. Because he used to make this huge ritual about it.
Oh my God.
Like, first of all, when the sniffing started, okay, the box of black magic is near.
Oh, so, brilliant.
Yeah. I don't know why he had to have clear sinuses before he ate the chocolate.
Yeah.
And then the box would be open.
He's getting
and of
ready.
course, he'd only eat one chocolate a month. So all the chocolate is white. Do you remember when chocolate?
Yeah, when it went
and
off.
he'd take one and then he'd suck on it for about 35 minutes, one caramel toffee or whatever. But that was my first one.
Yeah.
So I guess when I saw you with this whole show about your dad's mannerisms and his bo, 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 all these little sound fillers that dads had and have, I could really relate to it.
Yeah, even when because he retired when he was 55.
That's
from Guinness's.
Yeah.
And I was going, but I think, so sorry, to go back to why I wanted my dad, people to meet my dad, is because his idea of life was, people always go, what's the meaning of life of everybody? I think my dad had the secret of life. I was going, oh my God, that's probably it right there. So not materialistic at all. Never, is it Alan Watts that always says that, like, we're always trying to get somewhere, but we're already there. Do you know what I mean? We're always trying to get the bigger wage, the bigger thing, whatever. But if you just sit in it and you just go, oh yeah, no, this is it. Because being alive in the one day where you are right now is amazing. So my dad had no want for anything, and we used to say that he was like an oak tree, like, because we reckon his heart beat like twice a year, because he was that laid back.
Yeah.
So like he his phrase, right, that he used to, so my dad used to come up with all these phrases and say they were his, and I'd be going, okay. But one of the ones he used to use all the time was, if you worry you die, if you don't worry you die anyway, so why worry? So that's obviously not his. but he was very much like that. Like if a pub went on fire and Dad was in it, he'd be the last one to leave it. He'd be like putting his hat on slowly, put his coat on. He'd probably bring up his pint and just bring it to the bar and finish off the last little bit while it's still flames around him. And then he'd just saunter out. So, because I'm very opposite. I'd be like, I'm more like a worrier, trying to mind everybody, panicking. So my dad didn't, first of all, my dad didn't try to mind anybody. You know what I mean? And he just did his own thing. And but as I said, not materialistic, had a shed in the garden, right? That's where he went for his cigarette and his whiskey. And people used to say, what did he make in there? I go, he didn't make anything. He just sat there. And he had his radios. Like, he had all these big old radios he wasn't even fixing them. He could have fixed them like in a week. He'd just be looking at them going, all that needs now is a couple of valves. He was obsessed with the word valves. He's going, what? Yeah, a couple of valves and that now will work. And he would just sit there. But he'd just shuffle around. And he wasn't unfit. And he wasn't an old man. So when my dad died, people couldn't believe he was dead. And he was 80. They all thought he was around 70. Because he had all his hair. He was always getting people to pull his hair. He was always going, pull that. I swear to God. He's going, what? That's real. Like, and but it's the whole, I don't know how content he was really in his brain, because you never know what an old Dublin outfit is really thinking.
Well, I think that generation as well, that it's a lot of the time they didn't feel the need to share it. That was their thing. But also a lot of them they didn't have the vocabulary.
Yeah, I think the vocab would be a thing. Yeah. But I think you're right about, because I remember the recession in 2007, around that 2008, talking to me dad, and he's just sitting there. He's going, Dad, world recession. He goes, yeah. Go, what's the story? Like, I don't go, what are you going to do? My dad's just sitting there. He goes, that's me fifth recession. This is fifth recession in life. He's going, what? He's telling me all the different ones he went through. Like in 1980 when the interest rate went up 25%.
I know.
Yeah, but their houses were only worth $1,000. So I was going, Dad, that's not really. And he loved all that. 25%, the mortgage was 43 quid. Went up from 20. But like, so all that. And
what do you think that putting the show together about your dad, where you become your dad and you're talking to young Jason as him, were you consciously processing grief through doing that? Or was grief coming into it for you? Or was it that you wanted to celebrate his life or not forget things about him? Because the level of detail and things you remember about him is so heartwarming.
Yeah, so, well, the other thing about my brain is I don't forget anything. It's a nightmare. So I can't... I met Louis C.K. came up with a line recently. He was saying, when you get older, you lose, you lose your memory and you forget things, And he says, and some things, you can't forget. Do you know what I mean? As in, like, you want to forget certain things, but the other things, they just stay, and you're like, oh shit, I don't want to remember that bit. That bit stays. So it's how I remember my dad moving and how he crossed his legs, and he was always wiping his left leg with his hand, but he would do it automatically because there was always ash on his knees. But even if he wasn't smoking, he was talking to you, he'd brush that left leg.
Yeah, my own dad did that.
Yeah, he'd be like, and he'd always went like that. Like when my dad answered the phone in the house, it was so funny. We'd be in the house, it'd be like ring, ring, the house phone. Yeah. He'd pick it up and he'd go into the bleeding thing and go, hello? And me going, Jesus, you're right there.
It sounds like he's trying to start a 1990 Toyota Celica every time he answers the phone.
I think really the first thing that comes to mind is how I would have liked my dad to talk to me, because he wasn't that emotional, my dad. So I'm playing my dad giving me advice that I know that he had in there that he never fully gave me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I went in there searching for. So I went in there to play my dad, to make my dad talk to me the way I would have liked him to talk to me. Do you know what I mean? Because he had... You'd have to sit with him for a bit, and then he'd answer stuff for you, And you had to have a little tipple on him as well, a little whiskey, and then off he'd go again.
That's really true about the gap.
Yeah.
And when I just think about my own dad, I don't think I'd maybe walk into the room and go, here, come here. When you were 45, what anxieties did you have? You'd have to kind of loosen up maybe with a bit of a golf chat.
Yeah,
or,
you got to get in.
Or even silence, and then and then ease your way in. It was kind of like...
Yeah, my dad didn't like any direct chat.
Yeah.
You're right. It had to come naturally or organically to him. And then he was good at it, Like then
it might just end abruptly. Sometimes it would just be, yeah, and I guess that's what I always thought. Any chocolate in the house?
Yeah.
The newspaper will go, that garden won't do itself.
This is like enough. So even if I, because my dad was taught by Christian brothers, and his whole conversation of that, his whole like being beaten by them, locked in wardrobes, everything was this. They were bastards. Anyway, you're put on countdown. That's it. That's their therapy. They're bastards. What I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm 52 as well. I'm kind of raised a bit like that as well. I don't need to express everything either. Do you know what I mean? I'm quite good at just, if it's not too horrific, I'm fine with just pushing it aside. You know what I mean? I don't have to tell everybody everything, all the horrific stuff. I'm grand. And I get that from my dad. But what our dads didn't have any outlet. So they go, so the people where they worked, it's all men. Men doing men things. Right? You know what I mean? Banging things with hammers, and like he was a cooper. Made barrels, right? They smoked and they drank, and that was it. And they were all right. Every one of them were right as well. When they go to the pub, you're dead right, Paddy. You're dead right. You're dead right, Michael. He's dead right. And all of them are wrong. None of them are right.
Yeah.
They're all wrong. They're all full of shit. I'd say they've all just lie on the ground and cry and roll around with each other on the ground of the pub, just going, I know, Paddy, I know, it's shit. But
I love the story of your dad being brought in by his dad, your granddad, at age 15 into Guinness.
Yeah, Billy.
And the foreman just being told, this is young Paddy. He starts today. And they were like, oh, right. And then they gave him a penny. And he said, what's that for?
Yeah.
He said, oh, that's for you to have your pint of Guinness at lunchtime. It's like, what? He's just used to having a glass of milk with his breakfast, and now he's suddenly a man having a pint at lunchtime.
Yeah. So they had Guinness every day.
Yeah.
All the time. No bother. And then Dad brought home large bottles of Guinness. Used that to get different things off neighbours, you know what I mean? My next door neighbour Chris worked for Cadbury's. We got broken biscuits and he got large Guinness. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was kind of lovely that way. But you know what? What's that movie? My dad reminds me of Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks and that other lovely actor. Oh my God, I actually wrote down his name somewhere. I'll find it. He plays the big friendly giant as well in that movie. Roald Dahl's thing. We'll find his name. Hang on. If we can just get his name and then we can just pick that up. I don't know where I wrote his name. Oh, there it is. Mark Rylance is his name.
Oh, Mark Rylance, yeah.
Right, so
he's the Elon Musk character in Don't Look Up as well.
Yeah. So Mark Rylance is in The Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks. And that is some lesson, that character. And he's very like my dad. Because Tom Hanks is handing him over to Russians or something. I can't remember what nationality he is again.
Oh, yeah.
And Tom Hanks is going, like, are you not worried? Are you not like upset and all? Like, what? Because he's just sitting looking at him. And then he lights his little cigarette and he goes, well, would it help if I was? Would it help if I panic more? And Tom Hanks going, I no. So that was my dad.
Yeah.
He didn't understand. Like, so it's that thing of no amount of anxiety is going to solve anything. So my dad was like that all the time. So my mum be running around like a headless chicken in the house over something. My dad's just watching her. He's there going, you sit down, what are you doing? Running around like that. You know what I mean?
That's balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although I suspect there were times when she probably wished he did worry about things.
Oh yeah, of course she did. He'd just be gone.
Yeah.
My mum be going, Jesus Christ, where is he? And you just hear the car start and off he goes to the pub. He's just like, this is one of my favourite moments with my dad. I remember him sitting in the house. And my mum was going out because my mum's little mammy, like a little wind-up little mammy. That's what my mum was like. She's still alive. She's like, Jesus Christ, kind of like picking up things and cleaning and putting it down and moving it. And my dad, again, was just watching her. And she was in the hallway. And my dad never went to you. He just shouted from the living room. Do you know what I mean? And he was going, Etna. My mum was like, what? Where are you going? Right. And she was going, I'm going into the hospital. And he was like, I can't remember the fella's name. Mr. O'Neill, he's very sick. Going in to see Mr. O'Neill. And my dad goes, well, listen, don't be sitting around that man fucking crying. He's trying to die. That's what he said. So oh my God.
That's so good.
I know, yeah. He was dead right.
Just let him die.
All these women going, oh, Jesus, you're a terrible man. He's going, well, someone sell us a joke or get us a whiskey.
Oh, that's so funny.
Like, so he, again, that lovely dry wit that he had about him.
What do you miss most about him?
Oh, just when I go up to the house, and he always used to go, how are you, Jay? You come in and then I sit down, and just watching telly with him was lovely.
Yeah.
Because we were like the royal family, as in like not the royal family, but as in Caroline Ahern's royal family.
Yeah.
We communicated through the telly all the time. So we will sit and watch the telly while we talk to each other. We'd never make really much eye contact. We just go telly, chat, telly. But my dad would have a full conversation. He's grand with the telly, you know.
But that's the whole psychology behind men's sheds. Is that men communicate better side by side, not face to face like women.
Oh yeah, so what they do
it's
there?
Our natural. That's why golf courses, tellies, fixing something side by side. That's why we tend to communicate a bit better. Even in the car, you might find that sometimes you have conversations in the car that are ones you've been avoiding, but it's just a bit easier because you're both looking ahead. Yeah, you know.
Oh yeah. No, that's definitely it. But I miss him like that, and and just him, just messing. Do you know what I mean? Just his funny little lines all the time. Like he once had it. remember going in once and he had a collection of teapots because he never wanted Christmas presents. You say, "What do you want for Christmas?" He goes, "I don't need it. I don't want it. Grand." And so he went, "Teapots. I love teapots." He's only messing. And then for years, people started giving us ceramic teapots every Christmas. He had a collection of them up on the thing. But the weekend before I went up there, because my mum and dad are very sociable, there was always the neighbours in, and they're always singing and doo-doo and da-da-diddle-dee-dee. They're always full of that. They're always, as long as I remember as a kid, that house was full. That house was full of people from the pub singing till like 2 or 3 in the morning on a Monday, and I was in school. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't care. It was like, yeah, whatever, go on, you were grand, right? And so one day, the house, it wasn't as full, but they were just in the living room, and my dad's pots are all there, and they're all singing, and he said that Byrne McBreen, who's now passed away as well, good old Byrne, she was singing away, and then she fell backwards into all the teapots, and they all came down on the ground, and they were all like, "Oh Jesus, Paddy, your teapots!" And my dad's line was, "I fucking hate the bleeding things. Delighted they're gone. Stop buying me teapots."
So that generation never seemed to be hung over either.
Oh my God, they were unbelievable.
If you and
Dad
I
would go to
had a
work.
session on a Monday night,
Gone.
we're written off for the week.
Yeah,
like
I would be.
fear-ridden. Like,
Yeah, absolute
they
unbelievable.
just go, "That was great.
Yeah, but isn't that?
Bernie knocked her over the teapots."
Barely
Great
smashed
night.
them all up. Yeah, go ahead and tell everybody. Yeah, Dad, especially. Oh my God, you know, even at my wedding, I remember he went to bed at 12 o'clock. He got back up again at 1:30. Just went up there for a rest. Came down in his vest. I'll never forget it. Came down in his vest and his trousers. He goes, "Right, pint of Guinness. Off we go now again." And the next day, I was just having breakfast with us then at 9. "Certainly, all right, very good. Yeah, very good. Not a kind of a don't be talking to me or bleary eyed." Is that just because they just drank all the time when they were younger?
Possibly, but I think sometimes maybe it was the vest. Maybe
I put on me drinking vest.
Maybe that's why that generation wore
Superpowers.
those vests, because that's where they got their power.
Super Dad.
You just pulled it on, suddenly became like this stoic legend that nothing could ever harm.
Yeah.
That's it. Down for a fry now.
I think it was odd as well. I mean, your dad's probably, maybe it's just that again, so if I go for have a few drinks, I don't drink a lot anyway. The minute I start, I'm worrying about the next day, about what it's going to be like. I'm already going, "Oh, geez, what's that going to be like? Oh, it's going to be a nightmare." So I don't.
Then
again,
you overdrink to get rid of the worry.
Yeah, mayhem
About how awful you're going to feel if you overdrink.
So my dad would be like, "You have to enjoy yourself." So my dad wouldn't even be thinking that.
Yeah.
And then they're just, they just get up. It's just you go to work. It's what you do. And all of them are in there. They're all hungover. And then he probably had a pint at lunchtime anyway. Sort
That was their
out.
straightener.
Sort himself out.
Straightener for lunch.
Yeah, no problem at all. They're all gone. They're all in the. Sure, a lovely drink driving story of my dad's, which was lovely. Which was, they were, my dad, because he worked for Guinness's, they used to go to the 5 Nations all the time, the rugby, before it was the 6 Nations. And and we never got to go as kids, because my other dad's motto, whenever my mum asked him to bring us anywhere, he'd go, "Sure, they wouldn't enjoy it. They wouldn't enjoy themselves." It's because he wanted to go drinking with his mates. So that's what he used to say. He'd go to the 5 Nations. "Oh, sure, it's freezing over there." They'd hate it. We wouldn't even know ever. We never even did it.
Yeah.
So Dad didn't like flying. So every second journey when they did the rugby, they had to go on the ferry. That was the deal. Dad would fly with them once, and then they all would go on Dad's Cortina the next time. And there was, and they're all my uncles, isn't it? My Uncle Tony, two other Paddies. So it's 4 of them. And my dad borrowed. He was always borrowing things. Actually, in that play on the stage, all the props, everything is his. Every single thing that you see on that stage is his. And a lot of it came from Guinness's.
Yeah.
He used to say that. He used to go, "Where'd you get that?" He goes, "Sure, nobody was looking at it." I just thought, pop that home now. So I'll be looking at it now instead. So they're in Wales. My dad had borrowed a small keg. Don't know if you've ever seen them. They're like a quarter keg. It's a weird looking thing.
Yeah.
And then he took the gas that goes on the top of it, and the tap is connected by the tubes automatically. It's just the whole thing. And he put that in the car going to Wales. And they were driving along, and my dad, when they got to Wales, my dad said, "Oh, we better pull in there into the lay-by, make sure that Guinness is all right." So they pulled in, and they sat in, and obviously it would have been around spring, February, March. Is that rugby? I think it's always the same.
Yeah.
And my dad was sitting there, they were drinking their Guinness in the little glasses, and then a Welsh cop car pulled in. Do you know what I mean? Again, probably early 90s, late 80s, I don't know when it was exactly. But the cop car pulled in, my dad said, and the two Welsh cops got out. And they obviously knew they were from the reg and everything, they were Irish. And the bigger guy was, my dad said, was going, all right, listen, you can't be, and they called them Paddies, they always did that then.
Yeah.
Listen, Paddies, you can't be doing that, drinking on the side. What are you doing on the side of the road? And then my dad said that the other copper kind of came out almost behind the fella. And he went, is that Guinness from Dublin? And my dad goes, yeah. And he goes, can we try that? And then cut to what an amazing image. 4 lads and 2 cops with their sleeves rolled up having pints in a lay-by. Isn't that brilliant? And it's also, that's why I miss my dad as well. He's full of those. That old way of living was absolutely amazing. My dad wouldn't like how fast the world is going now. He used to say that. He used to say we're inventing ourselves out of existence. He knew that. He knew that because he was a cooper. So he lost his job when they brought in metal kegs.
Yeah.
So he was one of the first people to see that happening. So we had a big warehouse with hundreds of people working in it, all making their barrels. And the next minute the barrels come in and now there've no jobs. And they had to move to different parts of Guinness. And what that reminded me of then was when I was doing gigs in India. There's a link here. This is the same thing. When I gigged in India, I was in Mumbai, which is like millions and thousands of people everywhere with hardly any jobs. But the Mumbai government won't bring in a lot of technology because a lot of them won't have anything to do. So when we drove into a car park, a fella lifted the barrier physically, right? We then drove in and then another guy tapped on our window. He walked over to a ticket machine, whatever it was. He brought the ticket over to us and then another guy parked us. And then when we left on the same barrier section, on the other barrier, which is literally 2 foot to the other side, a whole new load of fellas. They're the out fellas. And those other fellas were the in fellas. And they will never, the guy who's running it, he says they will never put it in electronic barrier there because they will all lose their job.
Wow.
So isn't that kind of amazing? Well, we're doing that now, really fast now, that we're inventing ourselves out of existence.
Yeah. Which
for me, as a nostalgia head who can remember everything from 70s and 80s and 90s, and I love the fact that my dad would basically, I watched my dad do that in the house. He built extensions, knocked down walls, built cabinets. We had that. Remember the unit? Did you ever have a unit, Dermot? Big, huge wall. There's a mahogany wall, which is where your mum put the delf in. But it was useless. It was useless. There was a couple of ornaments on it. It was like the size. It was about 8 foot long by about 5 foot tall.
We had a glass one, which had sliding glass doors.
Yeah.
With just all the crappy golf trophies my dad won.
Yeah.
And it tipped over one night onto the couch. Thankfully.
The thing would kill you.
The person who was sitting there realised, it was a friend of mine's girlfriend, realised that somehow something was falling behind her. And she jumped forward and this thing crashed down on top of her. She was sitting.
Jesus Christ. Death
by... What's that thing? What's that bloody ladro?
Death by ladro.
Little statuettes, you know. Like you don't want to die by getting hit over the head by one of those things that my dad had won for some Christmas golf competition.
Yeah, ours is in the good room. You know, and in a semi-detached house in Lurford as well, which is hilarious. But it had a bar in the middle. It had a bar. So my dad could pull down the door and he'd take out the gin and tonics on top of the door. And then all the L ones and all go,
oh, I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah, that was called the unit. So, but that's what I say. My dad was so handy that my mum goes, I have to get rid of that unit. It's disgraceful. He goes, throwing that out to her fortune, whatever. He chopped it up into 4 bits and recarved it and redesigned it and all and put them into different corners of the houses. Your mother's going, great, now we have 4 of these.
Yeah, we've got
bleeding units everywhere. But I remember knocking the wall down. I'm knocking down the wall between a living room and a dining room. He's knocking the wall down with a sledgehammer, like a huge hammer, like he's banging at it. And I was sitting watching him, and then I remember looking at him. He was right. Better call Chris, because the whole ceiling started to come in, started to bow, because that was a supporting wall, and Dad didn't know. He just wandered into Chris, and Chris came in then with these big braces.
Yeah.
The two of them with fags in their mouths, like not even panicking. The house could have been falling down, and Chris going, yeah, we'll just put that up there, and that sports that, and there we go. So my dad, about us inventing ourselves out of things, is that when my dad, like he once fixed all the plumbing in the attic went, The tank went or something. He went up in his pajamas, came down soaked, all done. And I remember my brother saying it to him because Eric was much older. He said, how do you know how to do that? And my dad used to look to him and went, you should know how to do that. That's what his answer was.
Yeah.
So it's quite...
They just seem to know. And they give you the most horrendous jobs. Didn't happen to me, but my older brother, Brian, his job, I remember looking at him, and even I was probably 6 or something. I remember thinking, oh, that's a nasty job. I'm glad I don't have to do that. He had my brother standing down in the drain, in the sewer drain, in his jocks, because he essentially had to go swimming. So he's in it with rods unblocking.
Oh my God.
The septic tank because we were out in the country.
Oh, so, I know them well.
So that was his job.
And all the shit just started coming towards him.
And of course he'd go, what? Get into the thing in my jocks. My dad would be like, what are you talking about? Just get in.
Yeah.
Like, what are you even thinking? That there's something wrong with this.
This is normal.
Yeah.
You know how to do it.
But you're not in the drain, in the crap with your Y fronts.
Yeah, no, my dad would push me up into the attic to get stuff. But me feet. Yeah. There's no ladder. There was no styra then. So my dad would get me...
Your dad was the styra.
Yeah, my dad would get me by my feet and push me up into a pitch black attic. And he'd give me the torch. If we're getting the Christmas tree or whatever. He'd go, it's in the corner. In the corner. Then he'd walk underneath me. Do you know what I mean? Followed me like some sort of... Like I was some sort of rat.
Used to do it magnets on a sheet of paper.
And then I remember him every year, going, stay on the beams. Yeah. Because you go through the middle, it's only plasterboard. Yeah. And so, I mean, I liked I learned those things. I mean, I can wire plugs and do electrics because my dad, I can do stuff like that. The only thing I wish he would have taught me was how to be, do carpentry. He didn't have a lot of patience to show that, to show how to make a barrel. Like he had to make that wooden barrel. They could seal that tight without any rulers or anything like that.
Just all by eye.
But I don't even know. Look, I'm not against progress. The world has to progress. We have to have everything. We have to move forward. I mean, it has saved millions of lives. Progress, but like it's kind of sad that like you'll see people not even able to do basic maths anymore. They can't add up anything. Their brain is starting to just switch off and switch down, which means that obviously if that keeps happening, because my mum was a good example of this. My mum, when my dad died, she was on her own and she just started to switch off. Like she wasn't doing it. She had nobody to communicate with and wasn't doing anything. And she got really doddery and she was starting to forget a lot of stuff. She wasn't using her brain at all. Then my sister moved in with her. And literally within 6 months, she was fully back. All lights back on. Like, jung, 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 jung. And she was like, oh, Jason, how are you going? Like, if I rang her that time when she was on her own, she'd be like, oh, yeah, where are you? I was going to go, Mom, I told you I was on tour. You're what? Why are you doing that? Like, forgot I was even doing comedy. And now fully back now. So it's just, it's a
social
dangerous
stimulation.
Yeah, it's a because they said that I'm fascinated with that, the way the brain is that it was about the Japanese, who's the octogenarians in their hundreds, the most in one place in the world is in Japan, because they eat this centenarians. No, octogenarians is going to be 80 or something, isn't it? Anyway,
in
over
Japan,
100.
they eat
this fruit, isn't it? This veg that they eat. But the other main thing that they've watched is the socializing. Yeah, them socializing and talking to each other and doing stuff, and they're like, they've been watching them for years, and that's what kept them going. So they did an experiment. They started to come back into England. It was on Angela Rippon did it. That's what I remember. She did it for BBC. She then got loads of elderly people in Britain and put them into different social situations, and the ones who were actually socializing and playing, let's say, table tennis or just silly little simple little games, they were firing. Their brain was firing like brilliant. And anybody who went off on their own, on walks on their own even, or on their own, were less fiery, where their brain wasn't working as well at all. And it's just mad. So they all agreed in the end in that socializing and making your brain fire. Because what is it they say? Your brain doesn't do what's best, it does what's easiest.
Yeah,
that's
path of least resistance. Yeah,
and it'll do that. Yeah, but if you have to make it learn an instrument, play a little thing or a language, it'll just start going. But obviously, what's happening now is we're doing the opposite to our heads. So we're kind of lucky, you and me, whatever. I have to still write comedy. I still have to think about the thing and the show, and I'm going, oh my God, yeah. But if I let AI do that, what's going to happen? Do you know what I mean? It can write my stories. One thing it can't do is be me creating that mayhem in the room. It can never do that. Unless it's going to be an AI version of me. Well, it probably will be in the future.
You won't have to leave the house.
I don't have to leave the house, that's it.
You can just drink in your shed like your dad.
I'll be a dribble. We'll all be like, oh my God, what was this Pixar movie? WALL-E.
Oh, yeah.
WALL-E's scary. That's very, very accurate.
All the chubbies going around in the chairs and the big shakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
anyway,
going to be us.
But hopefully we'll be all right, Dermot. Jesus. Thanks for... Oh, yeah, my dad... Here's my last dad one. My dad was going, I'll tell you, that's the truth. I was going, oh, no, here we go. You got aliens, right? My dad goes, no, I don't believe in that, because my dad didn't believe in anything, but did believe in everything, just in case. In case there was money involved. In case he lost. I never said that. Remember they said the other thing? And he was going, the aliens goes, oh, there we go. He used to say, they're us. I used to go, what? He goes, they're us. What do you mean they're us? He goes, so my dad wasn't thick either. Yeah. He liked reading newspapers and books, and he was quite, the news, like he was quite good that way. And he goes, sure, Einstein, like the Einstein thing again. He goes, what? Time travel. So he said that can, he goes, yeah, that probably will happen in the future. We'll work out how to bend that time. You know what I mean? And we'll get it done. And he goes, you see the lads coming back, the aliens, that's us, right? And I go, what do you mean that's us? And my dad said, they've huge eyes, right? They've no mouths, right? But they've huge eyes from looking at the screens all the time. And they've tiny mouths because they don't talk anymore because nobody's talking anymore. So he used to say. But they've worked out time travel. So they're coming back to make sure we're all right. That's what he used to say. But that's why they don't attack us or hurt us, because if we went in bad, they won't exist. I used to go, what? And then he'd go, do you want to watch Countdown? I'd be like, what the hell happened there?
Do you know what? This conversation has gone the way of one of your gigs. We were going to talk about grief, and I was going to ask you other things, but in a way, I
just did what my dad did. Just deflected everything.
Well, but also you didn't. I think what we did was the key component of when we lose somebody that we care about, is that we keep them alive by talking about them.
Oh, yeah.
And all the little small things, whether it's sniffing while eating chocolate or, coming up with incredible theories for time travel and the future of the human race. Like this, I guess, isn't that the greatest, not weapon, but the greatest tool maybe to navigate your way through grief is that you keep those memories alive.
Yeah, there's no harm. I think a lot of people think that, and no matter how young or how old they are, it's okay to keep talking about them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that was the other phrase my dad said, if you don't keep talking about someone when they die twice. So that's the thing, isn't it? So, but Dad was very much into that. He loved all that. When his own dad died and his own mother or his brothers or anything, he'd be always sister. He'd be going, oh, do you remember I used to do that and all? So talking about him, and that's what happens in the play. When I speak about him, and then other people kind of come, it allows them to grieve about people that they may not have done. Do you know what I mean? And then a load of them have gone off going, oh my God, I'm getting out the photographs. I'm getting out the cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm going to show me mum now this picture again and everything. And so when I go back up to my mum's now, it's the first thing we talk about. I go, do you remember Dad used to that? She'd be like, oh, jeez, what was he like? Was it a nightmare? Jesus Christ. One of the best nightmare stories he ever did was when the priest, because he didn't like the Catholic Church, he never went to Mass. My dad only went to Mass, if it was a wedding or a funeral, because there was drink involved.
Yeah.
He was there going, have a nice little tipple. Well, like pint, right? But the priest, we had the local priest that always knocked into the houses. I'm sure you had that. And Father Murta was his name. He was a great priest. We really liked him. Like, we had really nice priests. They were brilliant. And so he called in. And my dad had come, because he always called in the day for a sandwich and a bit of whiskey. But my dad came home early from work once and he was in his overalls. And he came in, and my mum, I was in there as well. I could see my mum getting really panicky. So my dad walked in anyway into the room when I was there. That's why I'm able to do that. It's in the play. That's how I'm able to do it. Walked in and my dad goes, all right, how is? And the priest is sitting in his chair, in my dad's telly chair. And my dad goes, who the fuck is that? He knew it was.
Yeah.
He just went, who the fuck is that? My mum went, that's Father Martha. And my dad goes, I couldn't give a fuck who he is. Tell him to get out of my chair. He says to my mum, not to him, who's literally a foot away from him, wouldn't even look at him. And then my mum goes, we'll go to the kitchen. Yeah, go to the fucking kitchen. Go on. And then he goes, and your man goes, and my dad didn't even say hello to him. He just goes, get out of here, you. You know that? Just had no time. No time. Because of what they were, in those days, my dad was well aware of what they were.
Yeah.
And also being taught by Christian brothers who are just awful humans. Do you know what I mean? But like...
Will you be bringing back the show about your dad?
Yeah, I really want to... it's hard doing the stand-up and then doing this play, and you know what's been really cool is some people have gone to the play, the Paddy Lama, Shed Talks, as it's called, thinking it's me doing stand-up. And then they go, oh, I thought it was... But at the end, they just absolutely love it. So it's trying to get that transition right now and trying to... I would love to do more of it, because in the play at the end, my dad is talking to me again and he's advising me, because I have 6 stents, I have. Yeah. And I have heart disease and all that. And my dad's advising me to slow down. And the best slowing down tool is to play him in a play. Oh my God. I just loved the fact that I was able to shuffle around the stage. And if I didn't want to talk, I'd just pick up something and start looking at it. And they're all just waiting for me to say something. That's exactly how my dad would have done a show. You go, just shuffle around. Just say stuff when you're ready. But when I'm doing stand-up, I can't. It's like I'm selling it. Like sell, papa, sell. So yeah, I'd like to do way more. Way more of it. And the other cool thing about the Paddy Lama show is that I can change it after a couple of seasons. It's just other stories that my dad would have told. Yeah. It's just being in the shed with my dad. And then I've had very young people at it. So what I reminded them of was their granddad. Also remind people of their dad, their husband. Like it goes right across the board to everything. And I've done it in Scotland in front of Scots, not in America, but in front of Americans, English, and they all relate to my dad. He's that universal dad. Yeah. That still sits there. But isn't it, it's kind of nice. I want to keep doing it because I want kind of the younger generation as well to know like all this about like Guinness and how they made the barrels, and there's my dad talking about the tools and VCRs, and like the whole place is just, it's like a little bit of history sitting there. Yeah. The advice that I mean, if I'd advise anybody now, if that's listening, to record your mum and dad if they're still around and just sit them down. Maybe actually, unless you're not there, you haven't got that relationship, maybe get one of your mates to do it, because your dad might talk to your mate better. You know what I mean? So that's another way of getting in there. It's like somebody saying, oh, you should get your auntie to talk to your kid. Because your kid won't say, he'll tell you, they'll tell your auntie. Yeah. So dads or mums will be like that. But my dad just, unbelievable. The amount it took years to get the info out of him that he knew. You know what I mean? Like he'd be there going, oh, St. Patrick's Cathedral. You know that? He goes, yeah, that used to be America. I was going, what was America? He goes, that was a whole market down there. And he goes, and there was Indian food there, and they had spices. I was going, and this is like in 1940 something, 50s. I was going, what do you mean it was Indian? He goes, yeah, it was Indian food then. Yeah. And they used spices. And they used it to hide the rotten meat. And I was going, what are you talking about? That's true. Yeah. And I just had no idea. That's why they use spices. And I found it off my dad. To hide the meat, the taste of meat that's just about rotten away, they'd put spices on it so it wouldn't taste so bad. That's the kind of stuff that these Elfless and Elwins know and will never know.
Jason, I think we could sit here for another
Dermot.
3 days and have an endless list of stories. Thank you for celebrating your dad.
Thanks for asking
with
me,
us for this and through the show. I really hope people get to see it when it comes back, because it's really, really powerful. And as I said, the best gift we can do for people that we've lost is celebrate them and talk about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Paddy.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Dermot. Thanks, everybody.